I'm laughing.
Welcome to the Self-Aware Entrepreneur Show with Lee Chambers, and my guest today is the wonderful Kath Jones, founder of Think Wines, founder of We Are Social Nation, amazing entrepreneur, barrier destroyer, obstacle climber. She's done an awful lot, and what we're going to do today is really dig into that journey, some of the challenges, some of the interesting things, and also find out a little bit more about what she's currently doing, what she's going to be doing in the future, and how she got to becoming the entrepreneur she is today. So yeah, thanks for joining me, Kath.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so if you tell us a little bit more about where you're currently at with things and what you're currently up to.
Yeah. So I've got two businesses at the moment. One is called We Are Social Nation. That's an influencer marketing agency. So we manage people with large social media followings online. The other is a reduced calorie, reduced sugar, vegan and organic wine brand. Currently, we've got just two wines. One of them is a Prosecco. The other is a Pinot Grigio sparkling rosé, which is very much as pink Prosecco, shall we say. Yeah. We've got the two small bottles on the way from Italy, which I'm really excited about. So we'll have small bottles available soon. And then we are going to also be releasing a still rosé very, very shortly. So loads of exciting things going on. But my two businesses very much work hand in hand with each other. Think employs Social Nation to do all of it, running around, all of it influencer marketing, and all of it social media is done by Social Nation. So the businesses go very much hand in hand.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing to have your businesses interlinked. But what's quite interesting is one is a service and one is a product. So I imagine that was there's probably a lot of lessons to be learned on that journey.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. Social Nation, if I'm being honest, it was very much like an overnight success.
Yeah.
Because my background was in influencer marketing. I knew all the influencers, I knew all the brands. I'd worked in that industry for years. So by the time I opened my own business, everything was there laid out for me. It was very much an overnight success, and there's no cost involved. All you need is your laptop and your phone. That's all you need. You don't need an office space, anything. When you go into a product, it's a money pit.
Yeah.
An absolute money pit, and it's a completely different scenario. There's everything's a cost, and it's so much harder, it's so much more difficult, but it also is very, very rewarding. And I do believe that, like, in the end, it's going to be Think that, gets me where I want to be. As much as Social Nation's great, and Social Nation is very much fueling Think at the minute, I do think it's Think that's going to really take us to that next level. So yeah, but lots of lessons.
Well, yeah, no, I can fully vouch for that. Obviously, having moved from my video game business, PhenomGames, a product, to Essentialise, which is a service business, and I had to almost come into it like, right, I might have 10 years experience running an SME, but actually, let's wipe the slate clean. I'm a complete beginner because it's so different.
So different. And then not even on top of that, I'm not, as much as I love wine, I love drinking wine, I'm not a wine connoisseur. So I don't actually... I've gone into this kind of minefield of just wine people, and they're not that welcoming all the time. So, that's been eye-opening as well. And I'm just trying to become more educated on wine as a whole, because even though I know the full kind of start to finish process of my wines, I can't say the same for any other wines. So I am trying to up my education levels when it comes to wine.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of dig into some of the challenges of, stepping into that industry in a little bit. But what I want to ask you, Kath, is, was the young Kath entrepreneurial? Have you been at it since you were a child?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I came out the womb in this way. But yeah, I was one of them. And you hear it every day, those kids who are selling, crisps at school, selling chocolate bars at school. That was me. I was the same. And then I progressed to, we used to create little, performances, and then we'd sell tickets on the street. to these performances, and we'd invite people. We'd be like, right, we're going to do a performance at 6 p.m, be here, and we get all these chairs like from our parents' houses, line them all up and expect. But most people would give you money but not show up to the show. Like expecting this audience of 20 people there, thinking, yeah, I've made it, because all these 20 people have given me £1 each. And then no one shows up to the show. So I was like, so I learned about heartbreak early on as well. So resilience was built from a young
No, it's interesting because, like, I mean, in a similar way, I was like, I managed to find a shop that used to sell sweets that were close to the sell-by date, and obviously that increased the margins at school. We got to a point where, like, I kind of created a bit of a collective so we could carry more, and then school banned us because they said that we weren't following food standards. That was the loophole they managed to stop us from creating a bit of a confectionery racket at school.
Well, that's funny, that. But you know what I used to do, which is just so, even though the idea was entrepreneurial, the actual doing of it just made no sense, because my mum would buy the crisps for 30p and then I'd sell them for 30p. So I mean, in my head, it made perfect sense because the money was coming back to me, not going to my mum. So I was still making 30p, but my mum had spent the 30p. Like, I could have at least made them 35p and made 5. But no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, what can you say? Learning about margins early. Exactly. So I mean, the beauty is, like me, you studied an international business-based degree. And that obviously kind of opened your eyes to a lot of things that you kind of get on those degrees, looking at marketing in different countries and how it hits differently, how politics affects business, things like import and export. So what I do know is that you went on quite an adventure after your degree, and that's really shaped like the lady you've become. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So I probably, the 2 countries that I went to are definitely what kind of shaped my whole life, I would say. So initially I went to America, to a place called Louisville, Kentucky.
Yep.
Which is, if you've ever heard of the Kentucky Derby, that's where they have it. And it was a 1,000 bedroom Marriott hotel that I was working for, which is like unheard of in England. You don't get like 1,000 bed hotels.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my God, insane, huge hotel. And I worked like everywhere in all the departments. So I was on reception, I was on night shift, I was on working in the events bit, in the sales. But I remember when I very first got there, they literally had to throw me out the door because I was that nervous to go on reception.
Yeah.
They were like, get out. And I was like, I can't go out on reception, you know, I can't, there's no way I can like face guests. How? And they just threw me out the door and were like, crack on. And I learned so much in that job, you know, the American way of customer service, the way they're obsessed with the sales, and, you know, they're really competitive, but in a nice way. Like, they're not, I can't speak for all Americans, obviously, but in my hotel, even though everyone was so competitive, they were all best friends as well. Yeah. So like that competitive edge was instilled in me from my very first proper job, because I was like, and because they're very different to English people in that, you know, they scream and shout about what they've done. So they're like, you know, we're the opposite, aren't we? We're like, oh, we've done that, but we won't tell anyone. Like, I've done this, I've made this sale, I'm amazing. So I learned that young, and that became me. And I was like, I don't care. Like, when I got back to England, you could see the difference between me and people who've been trained in England, because I was just like, I'm smashing it. Yeah, I've done this. Yeah, I'm a winner. Yeah, I don't care. That really, really helped. I think that was like the starting point of my career in sales. And then from that, I went to China, and I spent nearly 2 years in China. And that was just obviously an eye-opener of another. Because I was in Shanghai, so you would think kind of, you know, a big city like that, a lot of people would speak English, but it's not the case. There is a lot of expats when you find them. But most people you speak to don't speak English, or if they do, it's minimal. So you very quickly have to learn to survive. And not only is it learning just to communicate in any way, you've also got to learn about business. You've got to learn about how things work there. And it's just a whole other ball game. But I believe that, again, that really built resilience for me, because no matter what I've ever came across since China, nothing has ever been as hard as China was. I was lost in China on the first day I ever arrived, completely on my own for like a 20-hour period. Couldn't get home. It was boiling hot. It was possibly the worst day of my life, I would say. And I just remember thinking, like, do you know what? No experience is ever going to be harder than this. Living here completely alone at 22 there's nothing harder. And since then, you know, everything feels easy.
Yeah. Well, kind of thinking back to that, and obviously going out and being in the US, you kind of almost got like your cutting edge with things, and also that ability to actually champion the work that you were doing. How did you find that then translated when you went to China?
I don't know if it ever did translate, because I worked in a marketing job, but it was part-time and it was an internship, because there was only so much you could do if you didn't speak the language. So I was learning kind of about the back end of the business and stuff, but I wasn't really that customer facing or anything, you know, making sales head on. So it's not like you could see how, you know, if that would have been an English speaking role, I would have been out there, you know, talking to everyone, making sales, like really bigging myself up. But actually, I was always in the background because I couldn't speak the language. So I was watching and taking everything in, but I was never being, you know, where I am now or the way I was in America, because it's just, it's really hard to do that if you don't speak the language. So I also was teaching English in China, like that. I did part-time marketing, part-time teaching English. And again, like, it's mad because the kids don't speak English, you don't speak Chinese, but somehow you can communicate. And today I don't know how, but we just can. And we would talk to each other, but I'd be speaking in English, they'd be speaking in Chinese, and we'd understand each other fully. And to this day, I can't quite understand a lot of Chinese, but I could never speak in it unless I'm ordering like chicken, then I can. But other than that, like, it's hard because the job roles didn't really cross over. So I don't think my skills ever really did translate, because I don't think if you spoke to someone in America, they'd probably say she was one of the best employees we ever had. If you spoke to someone in China, I don't believe they'd say that, because it wasn't like I was able to perform to that level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of looking at those very different experiences, but both like character building. After coming back from China after 2 years, how did you kind of build all that you know, international experience into the work that you do kind of today?
So I came back and I got a job in like a corporate. I actually work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which is an American company. So they had instilled in them already a lot of the traits that I had from the US. And obviously, when I come back from China and everything had been a struggle for over, you know, nearly 2 years, it was like I was back in England and I was like, I'm just working for this English company, no problem. Like, this is very, very easy for me. And it just felt easy. It was like the job was so easy. It wasn't challenging in any way. You know, instantly I was top seller. Instantly I was back in the swing of things, of how I was back in like that mindset of, you know, I'm an American. I've got customer service nailed down. I'm going to get all the best reviews. I'm going to get all the sales. I'm going to smash it. And I'm just going to learn enough skills until I can start my own business. Because every job I ever went to, I never thought in my head, oh, I'll be here forever. It was always, okay, I'm gaining skills till I can open my own business. I'm gaining skills till I can open my own business. So I always knew in the back of my mind, I was just trying to gain skills to open my own business. And that's what I was doing, even when I was back in the UK. And then I went and got a job because I'd been in a corporation. I wanted more of a startup. I went and joined a startup. Together, we built the company from, say, you know, 2 members of staff to I think about 25 by the time I'd left. So we built a company. And because I'd basically done that, but under the wing of someone else, I learned all the skills, learn what not to do and also what to do. And that's what put me in the position to be where I am today, to go, well, you know what, I can go this alone now. I can do this.
Yeah. And what kind of self-awareness did you build in that kind of mentorship of propelling a startup and being in that point of like origination and taking it and growing it, you know, with the work that you did?
Yeah, I think it was, you realize, you know, being a top seller in a company is completely different to running a company, because you're only looking after yourself, you're managing yourself. You know, you can stay late and get an extra sale, or you know yourself inside out. I think building a team is completely different because they don't think like you do. They don't necessarily have the same drive that you do. They don't. If you kind of almost want to create like an army of yourself, but you just can't. So you learn to manage and handle and develop other people. That was the hardest part for me, because when we did do a startup and I started getting staff and, you know, I was managing staff, that was really my first proper time of managing staff. I'd been a supervisor in other roles, but it was kind of like part-time, not really anything mega. And this was like, I'm the manager. Not only this, I'm basically second in command. I'm basically running the company.
Yeah.
So now I've got to build these teams, and some of the teams are doing stuff I don't even know how to do. So, you know, you're building a team around you, teaching them your skills, like sales, marketing, all the stuff I'm used to. But in a startup, you're actually managing them while they're doing something you cannot understand in the slightest, like IT. I don't know anything about IT, but we had an IT department and I have to look after it. I'm like, how can I look after you? I don't even know what you're doing. But then you learn that you can. And that was kind of a pivotal point, I would say, when I realized I need to just manage staff and get people performing well and motivated if I'm going to grow a business.
Yeah, and I suppose that's kind of, as you move into that management and leadership role, it's a whole different skill set than the technical abilities. And obviously you've managed to build that over time. But what I want to kind of like have a dig into is, obviously we are a social nation. It is, you know, something that you just took off overnight. But actually it didn't, because it was the network that you built that allowed you to have such initial traction. So how did you build that network?
Can I just confirm, can you still see me? Because I've lost you.
Yep, I can still see you. Still live.
Okay, I'll just carry on talking then. So sorry, can you repeat?
Oh yeah. So when it comes to We Are Social Nation, it took off like a rocket, but it was because you'd already built a real, you know, expansive network. So how did you start building that network?
It was because the business that I was in previous was doing similar stuff to what my business does now. And actually, the business that I used to work for, I would never have left. I would have been quite happy being second in command there till, you know, forever, because I was very comfortable. I had a great job. I had great commission. I had a company car, loved my team, loved everything. And I probably would have stayed there forever. However, unfortunately, things happened, not so great things. And me and the boss ended up falling out. And therefore, I had no choice but to set up my own agency. And that was what my network for the past 5 years and my skills were in. It was in influencers. So I had no choice but to set up my own influencer agency. And I was kind of pushed into it because when I left my old job, my influencers were just like, Kath, where have you gone? Where are you? Like, we need you back. Like, please, like, can you still look after us? So that was why I ended up doing that. And it was the best thing I could ever have done, because as I say, I would have still been there, still would have been working for someone else. No, don't get me wrong, I'd have a great lifestyle, but I wouldn't have my own successful company the way I do now. And it is because in that old job, I managed a lot of brands. So I had loads of contacts with brands, and I managed a lot of clients, and they all trusted me. So when I left, they all came with me as well. Yeah. So that was how I got that network, really.
Yeah. And what's the biggest lesson you learned from that conflict with your boss at the time?
Always get a contract with anything you do. Because even if you trust someone, love them to pieces, think that they'll never do anything to you that's wrong, it can always happen. So just anything you do, if you're going into business with anyone, just make sure you get a contract. That's my biggest lesson. And you know what else? Always know that even though these things feel like the world's crashing down around you, when something like that happens, like something negative, you feel like the world's crashing down, you won't get back up again. Like, just know that actually it was just, it was meant to happen to pave your path to be how it should be, you know?
Yeah, I'll definitely kind of, you know, mirror that. I suppose I'll say, you know, when I lost the ability to walk, best thing that ever happened to me, because it's made me stop and reflect about, you know, the business that I had, what I was doing, how much time I was spending with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, you sometimes you need this adversity to open your eyes to the reality that you're living in.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, what you're talking about is just another level, because I don't know anyone who can like genuinely say it was the best thing that could happen to me, that. And it is the best thing that could happen to you, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing where you almost have to flip it, because it doesn't feel like that at the time.
No,
So it definitely doesn't. But I really want to kind of think you got this, you know, amazing influencer marketing agency. You know, you're going into places and like you've just made it happen. It feels like, you know, you're taking on the world, but there's something missing. And suddenly this idea for a Prosecco brand comes about. How did we go from influencer marketing to, you know, specialist alcoholic products?
Well, basically, I always knew I wanted a product. I always knew that was like the style of business I wanted. My service-based business came about because that was my experience, and that was kind of my just what happened. But actually, at the back of my mind, I always knew I wanted a product. I just didn't know what product I wanted. I knew I wanted something I was passionate about. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, what am I passionate about? I know I'm passionate about wine. I love wine. I love drinking wine. It's true. Like, I loved it. And it was very kind of personal to me, because in that job with influencers, I was always, you know, eating out, drinking out, going to the opening of an envelope, really, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And I was drinking a lot of fizz, bubbles, champagne, Prosecco, and I was gaining a lot of weight. And I was just like, there's surely got to be a way to create a wine that's better for you. You know, still has the alcohol, because no one wants to get rid of that, but it's less sugar or less calories. And at the time, veganism was really becoming prevalent, and our clients were all becoming vegans. And I was like, oh, veganism, what's this? And let's dip my toe in here. And it just made me think, if I could create like a vegan, organic, clean, still has alcohol, but much better for you wine, people would love it. And then I started running the ideas past the influencers, saying, if I was to do this, would you promote it for me? And they were all like, oh my God, yeah, it's amazing. Like, such a great idea. You've smashed it, blah, blah, blah. And then it was just an idea that ran away with me, and I couldn't really sleep at night until I had done it.
Yeah, and obviously it's an industry where there's an awful lot of regulation. Like we said, they're not always the most welcoming place. But kind of what hurdles did you face when suddenly you had to bring this product, which is highly regulated? How did that kind of go?
Well, that was the worst part of the whole thing, to be honest, because to get there's multiple licenses that you need, but a wholesale license is very difficult to get. I ended up having a 4-hour interview with HMRC. They literally went through every aspect of my life. Luckily for me, I'm relatively like clean.
Yeah.
You know, they tear you apart, like looking into you, checking into everything. And I do understand why they need to, but I didn't know it was going to be that level of intense and difficult. I actually ended up having to hire a consultant to get me through the process, because I was just like, I don't know where to begin. There's that much paperwork, that many interviews, that many like hurdles. So anyway, we got there in the end. So I've got my wholesale license now, but that was the most difficult part for me. Everything else is like, it is a struggle, because you need your wine to be top quality. The whole idea with Think is, yes, it's better for you, but there's no compromise on the taste. It's still delicious. And I needed that to definitely shine through, because this product was created for me. I wanted this product for myself to drink it for the rest of my life. So even if I never sell a bottle again, I'll just carry on drinking it and I'll be quite happy with that. But it was a product that was created for me, and I needed it to represent that. So it needed to be high quality. So I was back and forth to Italy multiple times. There was lots of hurdles with paperwork, but everything, I'm very much a take each day as it comes. I'm not going to get stressed out and go insane, because at the end of the day, worse things are always happening. And it's not that big a deal if you've got to wait a bit of extra time for things to happen. But the alcohol one, that was scary, because a 4-hour interview with HMRC is not anyone's good time.
Not true. And I mean, I'm well aware of the fact that you got to this point, you got it perfected, you got it exactly how you wanted it. Beautiful bottles created, ready to kind of adorn the shelves of the finest bars across the Northwest. And then all of a sudden, COVID comes and shuts down all the venues where you were going to sell it. So how did you manage to pivot, given suddenly you didn't have anywhere to put the product?
Well, I had no choice, did I? I had absolutely no choice but to just put all my efforts, all my time, everything into online sales. And that's what we did. Everything went into our website. We made sure our website was kind of on point. We upped our marketing budget when it came to influencers, when it came to Facebook ads. And you know what? It really paid off, because we had a brilliant summer. We were, none of my staff were furloughed. No one was let go. We were able to keep hold of everyone. And it was a great kind of year, but at the same time, half of our market, 50% of our market was gone. So now I'm looking forward to seeing what an 100% year is going to look like, Yeah. So hopefully, we've not been the worst affected by any means, because we're alcohol, people were drinking, people were Googling low calorie, low sugar. So we did get sales. And yeah, we exactly that. We had no choice. So we went for what choice we did have, and that was an online website. And yeah, it's been phenomenal, but I'm really, really looking forward to having the world back as is.
Yeah, and it's not a doubt that it was created as part of an experience, and that experience is around that kind of hospitality, drinking the best drink in the best places, surrounded by great people.
Yeah.
And that's the philosophy. Oh yeah, it's got to be influencer, generating, isn't it? So, but what I want to ask, Kath, is obviously you've been on a real journey to get to where you are today. So what little bits of advice would you give to, young entrepreneurs thinking, I really appreciate what Kath's done. I'd like to, have something of my own, maybe a service or a product business. What advice would you give them?
My advice would be seek out conversations with people, because actually I kind of, with Think, I set that up before I even had a network. Like now I'm really active on LinkedIn. I've got people giving me advice left, right and center. Like I'm in networking groups. I've got a business coach. And I just think, oh my God, if I would have had all this help and assistance way back then I'd be a millionaire by now. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just that my network has only just been formed probably this past year. And if they can start building their network young, getting people around them who can help them, coach them, give them advice, listen to all the podcasts they can, read all the books that they can, then they'll be able to get there kind of quicker. I would say, I'd just say always take advice and assistance and be resilient. Don't ever give up. If you don't get a promotion, but I wouldn't know about that because I've never not got a promotion. But if you don't get a promotion, don't cry about it. Just get back up, go again. Resilience is really, really key to being an entrepreneur, I believe.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for being consistent, keeping going, having a bit of grit to you. And really pushing on, because what, adversity don't discriminate. Life is going to throw you some pretty bad eggs over the course of your life, and the ups and the downs, so much so let's actually look on the up that's coming. Things are opening up again. What is coming for Think in the future and for Kath?
So, well, actually, I was supposed to be going on a TV show in America on the 3rd of June, which I've been very, very excited about. I don't believe that will be happening because currently UK citizens are banned from the US. So if that changes before the 3rd of June, I'll be going, which will be amazing. And if it doesn't, I won't be going because it's classed as entertainment. It's not like it's not away in the country. And actually, it's on the UK's do not travel list as well. So both countries America doesn't want us there and the UK doesn't want us to go there. So it's not looking likely. And the one other person from the UK that was meant to be on the show has just pulled out because they said, the stress of worrying right up to the 3rd of June, whether or not you can go, it's not worth it. I'd rather consider it another time. But that was going to be, it was going to be very, very big for my brand, but it's not looking likely that it'll happen. However, we are still launching the product in the US. So come September, I'll be going there for a couple of months, doing kind of a sales, travel. So we are launching the product in the US, and we're also launching a still rosé in collaboration with a really well-known influencer. So that's really exciting. So look out for that.
Yeah, no, big things in the future. So yeah, I just want to thank you for joining us today, Katherine, sharing that journey, some of the insights, some of the challenges, and yeah, just giving us a bit of your time. And it's big things are coming. And very much looking forward to following that journey over the next year.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been good.
No, it's a pleasure. And yeah, thank you again for joining us for the Self-Aware Entrepreneur Show. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 12:30 with the amazing Deborah Bulcock, where we'll be looking into her journey through corporate burnout and how that's turned her into a massive champion for helping other people through nutrition, through leadership, and through coaching. And we'll be exploring that with her tomorrow. But again, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Kath, and have a great afternoon.